Hey, welcoming you Gooshbagz to the Week 10 edition of the 2021 Gooshbag Fantasy Football League podcast. I, as always, am the host, the commissioner of the Gooshbagz Fantasy Football League. I am Jason Peck, and what a great week it was. I am here with your boy Neil. Neil, hey, woo, how you doing?
Well, it was a great fantasy week for some of us, but others it was not, or just a bad season. Do you hear some echo from me? Because I'm hearing some echo in my headphones too.
I do not hear you echoing currently. So
All right, we'll just keep. Okay, it's gone. So I think we're good. Let's just say it's good.
all right, sounds good. Sounds good. Well, hey, yeah, I know it was a good week for me. As always, I come in, I say whether or not it was a great week based on if my team won this week. So obviously, as you're hearing, I took down Neil's team, but your team was not so shabby this week. I think you were close to the the top five of the week. You only lost to me by a few points, so you couldn't have been that far behind the top of the week. So, yeah, how are you, by the way? I know this season has not been super kind to you, despite your amazing looking team on paper. Fortunately, you got hit with the old Derrick Henry, and then you for some reason traded away Jonathan Taylor for Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, which in hindsight, ever since I traded him, he has taken off. So I really think he only has me to thank. So Jonathan Taylor, I know you'll watch this. You're welcome.
Well, you given me my running back keeper for next year, so I'm thankful for that. So that's good.
Yeah,
Fortunately,
I did it for Jonathan though.
yeah, exactly. Hey, UW, Wisconsin. That's all Jonathan Taylor, my man.
Yeah.
Um,
I think he probably he got more fans at Wisconsin than he does at the Colts games. But that's another topic for another time.
I'm sure he does. Wisconsin has a massive fan base, so yeah, I'm sure people are keeping tabs on him throughout his NFL career. However, we had some bad news, unfortunately, in Wisconsin this weekend, and we're going to start off with the injuries for this week. And unfortunately, we saw Aaron Jones go down with a sprained MCL, and he's going to be out for 1 to 2 weeks. The Packers had their bye in Week 13, so we'll see if he does play the next couple weeks before the bye. He might just, sit out and have A.J. Dillon just take over because A.J. Dillon is also a beast.
For sure. I as a Packers fan, am not worried at all.
Oh, no, I'm not worried about the team at all. But as an Aaron Jones fan, it is very sad that he got hurt this week. And the other sad news was Cordero Patterson, who has been a monster this year, a surprising monster. He got some sort of ankle injury, and it looked like he was iffy going into today, whether or not he was going to play this week. It looks like he's going to be out. I believe we just got the notification not too long ago. He's going to be out this week. So rest up Cordell Patterson, and you'll win some leagues on the other side of your injury, I'm sure. So yeah, fortunately, those are the only two injuries. So it really wasn't too bad of a week as far as injuries go. So that's good. That is good. Now we will move on to the top scorer of the week. This week we had Ferris Bueller, You're My Hero, or James's team put up 121.84 fantasy points. Good work. That's not really that's good. Good for you. You got your $10, but that's not really a high scoring week. We kind of had another low scoring week in general this week, for the Gooshbagz. The last couple weeks have kind of been, you can personally attest to how bad that week was, even though you still won.
Oh, yeah. You love getting a dub with, I think it was 61 or 62 points. The second lowest scorer in the league, but we just did what we had to do. Sometimes you just got to win, baby.
Meanwhile, I was like the third highest scorer last week and somehow didn't get the win. So, that's just how this works. But we're gonna move on to better news. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry, James. You got the
Alexander Hamilton.
That's a homemade drop by Benaya. So
But
good work, Benaya. You got your $10, or James, you got your $10. I sent that off to you earlier today. So you are rolling in the dough. So we will move on to the matchup reactions from last weekend. First matchup number 1. Owen Tree versus Ain't No Waller Back Girl. Owen Tree took down Ain't No Waller Back Girl 109.2 fantasy points to 105.88. Yo, I'm 7-4. I made a comeback after my belated and devastating loss last week. All of you guys know I came on the podcast last week bragging about how my team won 7 games in a row, and now I can't say that happened, unfortunately. Yeah, for those of you who are out of the loop, which is nobody, I'm sure, because I was annoying as hell, I'm sure, in the chat this weekend, bragging or being like, "What the hell happened to my team? I got a loss." But yeah, so there was some sort of stat correction or something. Somebody on Aaron's team got 2 points back somehow, whether it was an interception or a fumble taken away, or his defense got an extra interception that was not granted to them previously. So I still don't know what the stat correction was, but I was given the loss last week because I only won by like 1 fantasy point, and that he got 2 back. So that sucked. But we will move on since now there is, a large tie for first place. I didn't really miss out on too much as far as the standings go. But I did have a couple of studs, like we were saying off the top. Jonathan Taylor put up 21.6 fantasy points.
it was his revenge game against me.
It was a revenge game. Yeah, he's not a big fan of Neil. Who didn't believe in the talent of Jonathan Taylor versus Dalvin Cook. So, and then in the absence of Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram, the second, put up 18.8 fantasy points in his second game back with New Orleans, or third game back. So he did fantastic, filling in there for a hurt Kamara. In the duds category, my favorite trade for target the last 3 weeks was AJ Brown, who only put up 2.8 fantasy points. Hopefully he's going to bounce back here. He's got Houston this week, so I'm looking forward to a bounce back game from AJ Brown. And then Tom Brady, in a week where really no quarterbacks did well, Tom Brady only got 13 fantasy points. So overall, it wasn't really too bad. I didn't lose points on the quarterback matchup this week because really only 1 or 2 quarterbacks actually played well. But yeah, on your squad over here, Neil, we got Deebo Samuel. Man, putting up 27.8 fantasy.
Yeah, and I don't know how closely you were watching our matchup Monday night in the last game of the week, but Deebo was playing Monday night, and it looked like
Jesus out of me.
At one point I was confident that I was going to win this matchup just by how fire he was doing. But the game scripts dictated what happened. Deebo didn't get any targets basically in the fourth quarter because they were just up by so much, so they just ran the ball.
Yeah.
But
well,
it got close for sure.
Yeah, I think I was up by somewhere between 15 and 20 going into Monday night, and I had George Kittle, and you had Deebo Samuel, and I was like, no way Deebo Samuel outscores George Kittle by 15 or 20. There's no way. And then as we got to the end of the third quarter, I was like, oh my God, he's only 3 points behind. All it'll take is one pass to Deebo Samuel, and I'm screwed. This is gonna be terrible.
Yeah.
Because George Kittle scored most of his points in the first half, or the first quarter. He had a touchdown early, I believe. And then he didn't really do much the rest of the game. So I was watching your score creep up closer and closer to mine while mine was staying there. And I was like, oh no, he's targeting Deebo so much. I'm going to be screwed.
Yeah. And I honestly had given up on the matchup. And Monday night is when I play tennis. And then I tune in after tennis. We went to a bar and watched the fourth quarter, and I was really surprised. And like I said, I was confident that I was going to win at one point.
Yeah.
But then didn't work out. But
I was terrified I was going to lose, and I was glad that they just ran out the clock for most of the fourth quarter, to be honest.
yeah, and then it didn't help. Aaron Rodgers, he actually had a solid NFL quarterbacking day. I thought he was relatively efficient, besides
Yeah.
that one interception, but that interception kind of turned things around when they tried to do the belt celebration, which kind of turned the whole game
Yes.
around.
Yes. That is like my favorite stat ever. It's like the like if you go back and see all of the defenders that either picked him off or like did some sort of sack or whatever, made a big play and then mocked the Aaron Rodgers belt, literally
Yeah,
every single time that's happened, like the Packers would come back and just wrecked shit like the next
yeah.
like
There's actually a very worthwhile YouTube video of a compilation of people mocking the belt and then just getting destroyed. I think it's a worthwhile watch. It should be. I actually gave that video for homework to my kids to watch.
Did you really? That's awesome.
I told them about it. I don't know if they actually watched it.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, that game was looking like it had like a soccer score going into the fourth quarter. And
Yeah.
then Jamal Adams had that interception, did the belt, and then the next two drives the Packers went and scored touchdowns. So that's when he knew that the game was over. And the
Yeah,
defense was playing lights out, man.
yeah, and I was going into the fourth quarter. I was like, please don't waste this defensive masterpiece of a game,
I
right?
know.
And honestly, I think it hyped up AJ Dillon more than anyone else. I know we talked about it earlier. He was looking like a beast out there.
He looked good. Yeah, he looked really good. He had like I don't think he had like too high of a yardage total, but he did have the two touchdowns and he was just like mowing down their
Yep.
defensive line. Like they couldn't stop him. They didn't tackle him for anything less than like 4 yards any of the plays. So that was
Yeah,
great.
I was amazed at how many plays were blown dead, not because he was on the ground. It was usually because his forward progress is stopped. Because he's just so much man. He's so hard to
Strong.
bring down, especially
Yeah.
in the cold Lambeau. I
Yeah.
think there was some snow that day or maybe the night before. That was
Yeah.
Packer football.
Oh yeah. Dude, he's gonna be a beast going forward. Nobody will be able to tackle him in the cold. So I'm looking forward to that. Speaking of the Packers, one last thing about the Packers. I was listening to the fantasy footballers this week or today, and they're going over the matchups for this weekend. And he was like, Minnesota's playing the Packers, and he was like, I think the Packers are on the road, and are favored by 2 on the road. And he picked it. He always picks like an almost upset of the week, I believe. So like he's like he's not saying for sure that it's going to be an upset, but like I think the Minnesota Vikings are going to win this game. I was like, what? Like this game is not going to be a Minnesota Vikings game, not the way that the Packers defense has been playing. I don't think they'll be
Yep.
able to do.
If they can keep that up, I don't see anybody stopping them ever.
Yeah. I guess to be honest, they've been playing like a cover 2 shell, I believe is what they call it, or a too high shell to
Yep.
stop the pass, which the way to beat that, I guess, is by running the football. So we'll see if the D line and linebackers, the front seven can stop the run game, then they have a possibility of, slowing everything down. But
Yep.
either way, I think the offense isn't going to have any issues taking on Minnesota's D.
For sure.
So we'll see. But speaking of Minnesota, you had Dalvin Cook this week, like we were saying, the epic trade that we made earlier in the season. Dalvin Cook had his own good game, 19.3 fantasy points. I think ever since the trade, though, Jonathan Taylor has outscored Dalvin Cook every single week. So
Yeah, and I know Dalvin missed a couple weeks due to injury, and then there was a little scare. I think it was last week where we weren't sure what was going to happen because he got sued for defending himself in his own home. At least that's what I
yeah,
hear.
there were two different stories on that, clearly from the two different sides of the story. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but I think either way, the ramifications will not take effect this season. I don't think.
Okay,
They have,
unless some video comes out like Ray Rice, you never know.
yeah, no, that's true. I mean, essentially, they have to finish the police investigation in order for anything because the NFL is not going to suspend somebody on the suspicion that they did something.
Yeah.
So they'll have to get the police. I don't even know. I'm sure the police is looking into it. Once all that is resolved legally, then they'll go into it in the NFL. I'm sure. But either way, I think this happened. This all happened last year too. So like, I don't know. We'll have to see. But yeah, I'm not saying whether or not whether what he did was good or not, but I just don't think there will be any ramifications during this football season. So I think you're in the clear on that for sure. That won't stop Jonathan Taylor from outscoring him every single, but in the duds category for Ain't No Wall the Back Girl, we got Darren Waller, the namesake of the team, with 4.4. And how do you feel about what Darren Waller has been doing this year?
With where so I believe I kept Waller this year. Is that correct?
I think so, yeah. For like a third.
For where I kept him and where he was being drafted, he's really been a disappointment because if you look at the numbers, he's still ranked the sixth best tight end. But obviously in tight end, there's a big drop off, right? There's there's the top few, and then there's a big drop off. And Waller right now is playing below that drop off. He's only had 3 multi-point or greater than 10 double-digit scoring days. The rest have been 1 digit. So I mean, definitely not what I was hoping for when I drafted him or kept him.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it is frustrating for like I don't know exactly what round you were able to get him for this year, but I'm guessing it was probably like a 4th or 5th round at the.
I think it was 5th because I got Taylor, I believe, in the 3rd.
Okay. 2nd. Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. I'm not sure. Yeah, Darren Waller. Yeah, he just hasn't. I mean, he just hasn't gotten the targets this year that he had last year. I think there's been more competent wide receiver play in Las Vegas this year. I think.
Yeah, and I think a part of it is he really has not been targeted very much in the red zone. He's had 2 touchdowns all year, which if you compare it to the other last year is not what he was seeing at all.
Well, that's because James Conner has all of the touchdowns. Wait, is that no wait. Yeah.
No, that's Cardinals. Cardinals. That's Cardinals.
Yeah. I am completely wrong about that. Kenyon Drake is in Las Vegas, and now James Conner is in Arizona. Yeah. Yep. So I keep thinking of Kenyon Drake as the Cardinal and James Conner as the other one, but that's wrong. Yeah. So So I don't know. Maybe they're just not. No, Josh Jacobs has actually been decent, I believe. And a lot of times the correlation of tight end, like usually tight end targets and running back targets, they kind of eat into each other some. So I think that might have to do with it a little bit. But yeah, he's just not getting the target share that he's gotten in previous years. He's been like, he hasn't been killing you, but he hasn't gotten you the value that you wanted. Yep. In this in the landscape, at least he's getting consistent points, but just not high points.
Yeah, and the thing is, when you draft a tight end early, you're doing that because there's an advantage. You're thinking that you're going to win the tight end position every week, where in reality that hasn't really been happening.
Yeah, he hasn't been like you said, he hasn't been the advantage at the position that he normally has been. So it's unfortunate, but he hasn't been destroying your team, but obviously he hasn't been helping either. So
yeah.
All right, we will move off of your team here. Stop hating on the Waller back girl. We'll move on to matchup number 2, which is Waddle baby Waddle versus Chubba Hubba Dubba Bubba. Man, we got a couple of fun names here in this matchup. But unfortunately, the scores, at least on one side, are not so fun. We have Waddle Baby putting up 63.58 fantasy points, and that is worse than Team IR this week, which is terrible because Team IR also did atrocious. And anytime you don't beat Team IR, I mean,
You might as well just go like.
yeah, I mean,
I
Team
don't want
IR
to. I don't want to say kill yourself, but you should. I don't
kill
know.
your team,
Yeah, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. And then Chubba Hubba Dubba Bubba did put up 108.24 fantasy points. So that was good for, I think, the third highest or fourth highest score on the week. Fourth highest score on the week. So I thought it was third. Anyways, still a decent score on the week. In the studs category for Waddle Baby, we did have Antonio Gibson finally putting up a good game through a broken shin with 20.8 fantasy points. But he had way more duds than studs this week.
I think that's basically it for anybody that helped his team. Really.
Yeah, that was literally it. I think let me take a look here. I was looking at his team and like it just looked atrocious after that Antonio Gibson.
Oh yeah, quarterback Matt Ryan got less than a point.
Less than a
Thanks to two
point.
picks.
Yeah,
Less than a point from Matt Ryan. 4 points from Cordarrelle, who got hurt. Devontae Adams, the best wide receiver in the league, got 11 points. Jalen Waddle, 8 points. Gesicki got him 0 points. I'm sure that was fun
I got
for him.
something for that. There's a goose.
Yeah. Basically, his team sucks.
Yeah, and then Jeremy McNichols there in the flex spot with 1.3 points. Not so good. Not so good. Like you said, the only two players above 10 points. I guess his kicker did put up 12. His kicker.
I know you know you're struggling when your kicker is your second highest scorer.
Yes, I agree. On the other hand, Chubba Hubba Dubba Bubba did have a couple of good games from his running backs, essentially. Josh Allen, I count as a running back, who had 20.94 fantasy points. Christian McCaffrey had 21.1. And then Ernest Johnson, once again coming through here with 19.2 fantasy points. He also had Hunter Renfrow, who put up a solid game this week with 14.1. In the duds category, he had Dalton Schultz, who only put up 1.9 fantasy points. Talk about a low-scoring tight end week.
But still winning the tight end battle for the week.
I know the two tight ends scored a total of 1.9 fantasy points. So there is that.
I was thinking in my games in the NFL last week, I scored the same amount of points as Mike Gesicki.
You're darn right, and so did I. Man, we might as well be suiting up on these for these games.
For sure. I think I'd be a great football player.
Yeah.
At my height.
I'm sure you could do the blocking that Mike Gesicki did over the this week. Yeah, because I I get wrecked. I get wrecked by MLB or NFL middle linebackers. For sure. All right, we're gonna move on from this matchup. Like we said, it wasn't really close, and there weren't too many boom games. Just a lot of kind of average games from old Chubba Hubba Dubba Bubba. So we will move on. We've got matchup number 3 is my tight end Ertz when Eifert versus Team IR. Now, as you can imagine, Team IR still has 0 wins under his belt this year. He scored 64.1 fantasy points, and my tight end Ertz when Eifert got away with a low scoring week this week with 89.72 fantasy points. Now, Tyreek Hill put up 24 fantasy points, which was a great week for my tight end Ertz, and he was really him and Travis Kelce were really the only valuable players on his team.
Yeah, the rest of the team just looks not great. No score over 10 besides Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Kind of a subpar day for Aaron, but you didn't need much to beat Brandon. You never need much to beat Brandon in this league, right?
That's true. He doesn't have many running backs on his team. I think that's kind of his downfall this year. His 2 running backs that he started was Zach Moss and Javonte Williams. And he's got Miles Sanders on the bench. Ronald Jones. He just hasn't touched his team since draft day. So
yeah, he actually started a running back on bye last week.
Yep. No, he didn't last week. Did he?
For Team IR?
Oh, Team IR, he did. Yes. Sorry, I was looking at my tight end Ertz. He
Yeah.
did not start someone on bye, but yes, Team IR did start somebody on bye, so he got a goose. He also played Las Vegas's defense, who put up -7 fantasy points. I don't know. Do we have somebody? I think I looked up. Somebody had -8 one time. Did you play a defense that had -8, Neil?
I very possibly did.
I don't remember. I don't know if somebody actually played a defense that had -8 or if that was just a defense had -8 this year and we pointed it out. I don't know. But man, playing Las Vegas defense against the Kansas City Chiefs is a bold move, and it did not. So yeah, that's worse than a goose. That's just the toilet. Yeah. So overall, just a terrible game. He did have Justin Jefferson in the studs category with 18.4 fantasy points, and Mark Andrews did pretty good with 15.3. But everybody else had under 10, except Greg Josephs, the kicker. Once again, had 10. So just not a great matchup overall. Low scoring week for those two. That was the lowest scoring matchup of the week. So congrats you two. That was the toilet bowl. On to matchup number 4. We've got Deshaun's Happy Endings versus Rock the Hawk. Now, Deshaun's Happy Endings pulled this one out. He had 108.82 fantasy points to Rock the Hawk's 85.42. Thank goodness that Ryo got a loss. That's what I say. Now that made us all even.
But just this week.
But just this week, yes, of course. I'm always only rooting against him just this week. So we have on Rock the Hawk. He didn't have anybody that I would technically put in the studs category this week. He did have Lamar Jackson won the quarterback battle for him. Lamar put up 15.42 fantasy points. And then like a couple of people in the 13s, like no like fantastic weeks from anybody on his team, hence the relatively low scoring matchup or relatively low scoring team total. He did have Myles Gaskin in the duds category with 5 fantasy points, Mike Williams with 5.3, which actually 5.3 is one of the better games recently for Mike Williams. And then Jared Cook, who only had 1.5 fantasy points. On Deshaun's Happy Endings, we got CeeDee Lamb, who put up 25.6 fantasy points, and Cooper Kupp with 17.7 fantasy points. Now, how do you feel about those Rams had a rough week this week, huh?
Yeah, all the Rams had a rough week. I mean, I see Deshaun's Happy Endings started Matt Stafford. He got less than 10 points. Cooper Kupp, 17 points for him is kind of.
That's pretty good. I mean, it's a good week, but yeah, it's not a massive week that he's been.
I think it's been actually below average for him. Actually, he's been averaging over 20 points a game, and that was subpar for him. But yeah, nobody saw that. I mean, talking NFL wise, nobody saw that game coming where San Francisco just blew out the Rams.
Yeah, I was talking to my brother, and he was talking about how like soon before the game started, he texted me. He was like, "Hey, it's like over under of 49.5, and the Rams are -3." I was like, "Rams are definitely going to cover, and I think the score will be under, but the Rams will definitely cover." And then the 49ers came out and scored like 3 touchdowns right away. I was like, "Oh no."
Yep. It just happened so fast.
It did. Yeah. So, yeah, that was a really surprising game, and maybe the Rams aren't as good of a team as, they seem to look at the beginning of the year. Maybe they just came out hot and now defenses are kind of catching up to what they're doing.
Yeah, definitely it'll be interesting to see NFL-wise as we wind down on the season whether the Packers can get the number 1 seed, because this year now only 1 seed, right? So only 1 bye to be had in the playoffs, in the NFL playoffs. So that'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, I think I think they got a good shot because, well, actually, I think what happened was the Rams missed Robert Woods a lot more, like, because they were game planning with Robert Woods all the way through the week. And
Yeah.
then Friday is when he tore his ACL. And then, OBJ you can't fill in that quickly, especially on that offense. There's too much learning to do of the scheme and the offense in general. There's no way he's going to be able to fill in the full capacity on Monday night. So they definitely missed their wide receiver too that week, this
For
week.
sure.
So, all right, we are on to the last matchup of the week. We have Ferris Bueller, You're My Hero versus Hot Digsity Dog. Now, this was a tight matchup, and I'm sure the Hot Digsity Dog is just waiting for that old stat correction to give him a view. But Ferris Bueller pulled it out 121.84 to 120.1. This was the highest scoring matchup of the week. The top two scorers, which was unfortunate for Hot Digsity Dog, but fortunate for the rest of us. In the studs category, we did have Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback one on the week, putting up 36.24 fantasy points. And there's the Chiefs offense. Like, they're back.
Yeah, I think they really just got pissed off by hearing all the media talk about how they're done or just they're not themselves. They heard it. Andy Reid heard it, couldn't stomach it, and that's what happens when you piss off Andy Reid.
Yeah, that's true. I think they had the NFL's version of the yips. I think a little bit the way that they were playing offense, they weren't really clicking for a few weeks in a row there, and I think they finally, they got a good matchup and they capitalized on it. And yeah, so I think a lot of what people were saying was that like all of the throws that Patrick Mahomes has made in his career have always kind of been a high risk style of play. Like he's always been aggressive with his throws, putting him into tight spots, and like Tyreek Hill has always been able to, and Travis Kelce have always been able to make those plays. And I think they were coming back to haunt them. I mean, like half of his interceptions though were like tips off of Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce this year.
Yeah, and I believe, was it his mom or was it his wife/girlfriend? I'm not sure. One of them started complaining that tipped interceptions should not count. And
Yeah, I'm sure.
I think actually, I believe I heard Casey told Pat Mahomes to kind of quiet his family down because I know his brother actually has a large social media following as well, and he can be kind of vocal too. So once they shut that out, Patrick, I think he had his best game of the year, right?
It's got to be close.
Yep, it's his best game of the year, 36.24 points.
Yeah, and now he's the quarterback one on the year after that matchup. Took over the spot from my own Tom Brady for his terrible matchup. But it was his girlfriend and his brother were both like very active on social media over the past few weeks, and people were kind of like making fun of his family. Essentially, they were like, man, Pat Mahomes has to deal with these people like in his daily life. That would suck, essentially. But yeah, the other studs on Ferris Bueller, we did have Hunter Henry, who put up 17.7 fantasy points, and the Dallas DST putting up 22 fantasy points this week against Atlanta. So that was beastly.
I'm telling you, that Dallas team really looked scary that day. Just the whole team in general. I know Dak was slinging it, and they were all just looking really good.
Yeah, they were. I didn't get to watch much of it, but yeah, they were. I mean, from the box score, you could just tell that they were just destroying them. I mean, yeah, their defense played great. The defense had 3 interceptions, only allowed 3 points, and they blocked a punt. Yeah, or I don't know if it was a punt or a field goal.
And I think they had a pick
they had a
six,
touchdown.
I believe.
Yeah. So yeah, their defense did great. Their offense was clicking again. Maybe just a matchup against Atlanta just helps their offense to click. Because I think the last couple of weeks they were kind of having a rough time. But yeah,
did you by chance see that? I think it was at halftime or maybe after. Atlanta's Twitter actually made a 28-3 joke. I thought that was pretty funny.
I think I did see that because it was 28-3 at halftime or whatever. Yeah, I did see that, and then they definitely followed through with that. No, they lost 43-3. So yeah. In the duds category for Ferris Bueller, we did have Tyler Lockett, who only put up 3.3 fantasy points, and Marvin Jones Jr., who only had 4.5 fantasy points. On Hot Digsity Dog, like we were talking about, the old the old Dallas stack there of Dak Prescott and Zeke. Dak put up 26.34 fantasy points, and Zeke had 19.26. And then Stephon Diggs out here with his best game of the year had 26.2 fantasy points. So that's the Stephon Diggs everybody's been looking for, and they finally found him.
Yeah, I think it was. So I watched the game with Adam, or at least the fourth quarter at after tennis Monday night, and it was fun to be around Adam because he was high, then he was low, and then I think he may have shed a tear at some point. But it was fun because it got really close at the end there. They were separated by a little bit over 1.5 points.
Yeah.
Really close margin.
Yeah, it was tight. Yeah, he had Elijah Mitchell. So yeah, they're running down the clock at the end of the game. I guess he didn't quite get those fourth quarter touches maybe. Well, because he broke his finger, right?
I'm looking it up. Yeah, he didn't even practice today either.
No. So, but they're saying that he'll probably they're saying they'll think he'll go Sunday. So we'll see if that happens. But yeah, I guess. Oh yeah, so I guess that happened. I don't think he broke it during. He might not have broke it during the game. Oh yeah, he did. Suffered a finger fracture during Monday's game, but he didn't get out of the game.
Yeah.
That I'm aware of. Maybe that was just him not getting the carries at the end of the game because his finger hurt. Maybe somebody else was getting the carries, but anyways, yeah. So in the duds category, we did have another goose. We had TJ Hawkinson, who had no catches for no yards in the tie against Pittsburgh. So I bet all Pittsburgh fans are feeling great about that tie with the 0-9-1 Lions.
Yeah, well, for the first time, we will not have an 0-17 team this year, unfortunately.
In one season. In one season.
One season, of course.
Yes. The Cleveland Browns did it a few years ago, but that was because they lost their last game of the previous season and then went 0-16 for that year. But yes, in one season, we will not have a team that goes 0-17. All right, on to the waiver wire team that would kick all of our asses. We have at the quarterback position, surprisingly, we had a tie at number 1 for quarterbacks on the waiver wire. We had Mac Jones and Trevor Siemian both had 19.92 fantasy points. We have Ramondre Stevenson at the running back 1 spot with 25.4 points, and Matt Breida in the running back 2 with 16.5. Kendrick Bourne leads a pair of Patriots leading the wide receiver and the running back spots. Kendrick Bourne put up 22.1 fantasy points, and Brian Edwards of the Las Vegas Raiders put up 16.3 fantasy points. In the tight end spot, we have Dan Arnold with 11.2 and Jamal Agnew in the flex with 13.9. Both of those Jaguars. Jaguars had a good week this week. And at the defense position, we did have the Dolphins who put up 18 fantasy points. And rounding out the kicker spot, Zane Gonzalez with 17 fantasy points. And this team would total 160.32 fantasy points. They would have destroyed us. Not even close. It wasn't even a close matchup. Waivers are 8-2 for the year. So congratulations to the waivers. They destroyed us. They did destroy us. Now, on to this might be the biggest news of the week of any league known to man. We have a 7-way tie for first place in the Gooshbagz Fantasy Football League. We have 7 teams sitting at 6-4 in the East Division, sitting atop these stands. Number one, I know you're unfortunately not a part of this 6-4 conglomerate. How do you feel about the fact that we have 7 teams at 6-4?
Well, and not just 7 teams at 6-4. We have Aaron sitting at 5-5 as well, and so there's a really good possibility that a lot of those teams won't even make the playoffs. So that'll be really fun to watch going down to the end of the regular season.
Yeah, we were saying so only 6 of our teams go to the playoffs. So at least one of the 6-4 teams won't make it, and potentially 2 or 3, depending on how these last few weeks go. So you still have a shot of being in the playoffs. You just got to win out. You got to win out.
And I think even if I win out, I think I'm going to need some help too.
Yeah, you'll have to get some losses from one or two of these teams up at 6-4, but yeah, I mean, there's a chance. And even if you don't make it, if you get those top scores over the last 4 weeks here, you'll get 40 of your $50 back.
Oh, and yeah, that's what I'm shooting for.
I believe you were already the highest scorer once, so you'd have all 50 of your bucks back, right?
Oh yeah, that's one thing I really like about incentivizing the highest score of the weekend is even when people who, like me, who really are basically out of the playoffs. I know you want to talk about playoff percentages later, but I have a really low playoff percentage, and I'm still setting my lineup, so I really like that format.
Yeah, that's why I did it, because I was trying to avoid people just kind of giving up and having no reason to play for the last few weeks of the season, because that's no fun for that's no fun for the person that has the bad record, and that's no fun for the people who are playing them. Like, there's no competition there if people just give up. So I do like that fact, and especially in this league, like, any team can have a massive week. As we've proved already, throughout this season. Like I said, you've already scored the highest score. You're 3-7, but you've scored. One of those weeks you had the highest score of the week. So it can happen on any week, except for Team IR, who's 0-10. He has not had the highest score of the week. But in the East Division here, we have 4 of the 5 teams at 6-4. Number 1 is Hot Diggity Dog at 6-4, and he has an 89% chance of making the playoffs. And it's surprising because we have Owen Tree sitting there at second place at 6-4, with a 92% chance to make the playoffs. And this is all just Watson doing their all number crunching, saying, "Oh, potential points for the rest of the year." So I guess I have a 92% chance to make the playoffs. We have Waddle Baby, Waddle Baby, Waddle Baby, Waddle sitting there at 6-4 as well, with a 72% chance to make the playoffs. Fairly good. Ferris Bueller, You're My Hero, also at 6-4 with a 52% chance to make the playoffs. That's about half and half. He might be the one team at 6-4 that does get bumped out. We'll have to see. You'll have to stay tuned. And at 5-5, sitting at the bottom of the East bracket with a 500 record. That's not even something to shake your head at. My tight end Ertzwin Eifert, and he has a 35% chance to make the playoffs. So, yeah, it's definitely a tight race over there in the East. Everybody's been beating everybody else, and it's a hard fought division over there.
For sure.
And then in the West Division, we got Rock the Hawk sitting at the top with 6-4, and he's a 91% chance to make the playoffs. We have Deshaun's Happy Endings at 6-4, 87% chance to make the playoffs. We have Chubba Hubba Dubba Bubba, the last team at 6-4, with a 79% chance to make the playoffs. In fourth place, Ain't No Walla Back Girl, sitting at 3-7 with a 3% chance to make the playoffs.
There's still a chance, baby.
Saying there's a chance. And then Team IR, as we mentioned, sitting here at 0-10 with a 0% chance to make the playoffs.
Already mathematically eliminated.
Yes, mathematically eliminated. Is impossible for them to make the playoffs. All right. All right, on to the matchup predictions for next week. Last week, I was 3 for 5. So not too bad. Benaya was 2 for 5 in his predictions for next week. So I won. As far as I know, you guys are 1, 2, and 2 against me this year. So I have beaten you twice. You have beaten me once, and we have tied twice. So Neil is looking to change that. He is hoping to make it my 3rd win of the year, as far as I can tell. Right, Neil? You want it to be my 3rd win of the year.
I'm going to see what I can do to reverse the trend.
All right. Well, the first matchup of the week, we have Owen Tree versus Hot Diggity Dog. So I have not looked at these matchups. Actually, I've looked at this matchup because it's my matchup. But yeah, as always, I'm picking Owen Tree to win this matchup. We have Tom Brady versus the Giants. Man, that's going to be a smash. James Robinson versus San Francisco. Jonathan Taylor versus Buffalo. This might be the week that Dalvin Cook outscores Jonathan Taylor. We'll see. Buffalo's a good defense. I have Brandon Cooks and A.J. Brown here. A.J. Brown versus Houston, and Brandon Cooks on the other side of that versus Tennessee. George Kittle versus Jacksonville should be a smash matchup. DJ Moore versus Washington. DJ Moore has been average, but Washington is the ultimate matchup for pass catchers. I have Miami's D versus the Jets, which is going to be amazing, I think. And then Tyler Bass versus the Colts. On the other side, we got Dak Prescott versus the Kansas City Chiefs, who, as we said, have stepped up in the last couple of weeks on defense. I'm sorry, Austin Eckler versus Pittsburgh. Zeke versus Kansas City. Stephon Diggs versus the Colts, who surprisingly I think they have a good passing, or they have a good, no, they have a bad passing defense. They have a good running defense, so that's not good. Keenan Allen versus Pittsburgh. TJ Hawkinson versus Cleveland. Elijah Mitchell, who is questionable, versus the Jacksonville. And then Arizona's D versus Seattle. And then Nick Folk, who is currently playing right now against the Falcons.
Yeah, that's what happens when you film on Thursday night, but that's actually
I know we tried to get it earlier, but didn't work out. So who are you thinking for this matchup?
So let's see. I really do think Dallas and Kansas City is going to be a very, very high scoring game. I feel like Team Owen Tree is a little bit more deep. I know, like I think Adam has a few spots where I could see at least one or maybe two goose eggs, or actually in pickleball we call it a pickle if you score 0 points.
There you go.
This is a tough one.
Do keep in mind that if Alvin Kamara does not play this week, I'm going to be throwing Mark Ingram into my flex. So Alvin Kamara did practice yesterday and did not practice today. So he was downgraded. Just so you know. Keep that in mind.
Okay. Well, keeping that in mind, I think I'm going to go with the potential shootouts and the Dak and Zeke stack. I'm going to go against my gut, and I'm going to pick Adam this week.
All right. Well, you just guaranteed the victory for me in the predictions for next week. So thank you very much. All right. On to matchup number 2. We've got Ain't No Waller Back Girl versus Team IR. And I don't even need to look at this matchup. I have already projected you to win this matchup.
Yes, I definitely agree. I feel like we don't need to spend a whole lot of time on this. Brandon did change out. He's not starting any players on bye this week, so that could be an interesting.
Damian Harris playing currently, who has
but
2 points. Does that change your outlook at all, or no?
Considering I think that's the Patriots' number 2 running back, I'm not too worried. So
you think Harris is their number 2 running back?
I think after last week when Ramondre Stevenson really had a show-out game, I think that may have been enough to move Harris to the number 2 spot. But you know how New England is with their running backs. You never really know. So we'll
Sure.
see.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like Ramondre only got that chance because Damian Harris was out last week. Um, so I don't know. I think Damian Harris has been their main ball carrier when he's been there. Although Ramondre did make a strong case, so we'll see. I mean, like you said, it's probably most likely just be a split backfield for the rest of the year. So
Either way, I'm not worried. I can guarantee a win this week for sure.
I think so too, especially with James Conner by himself there in the offense.
Yep.
And yeah, Dalvin Cook against Green Bay should be good. Rodgers versus Minnesota should be good. Yeah, so I am also picking you. All right, on to matchup number 3. We have Rock the Hawk versus Waddle, baby Waddle, baby Waddle, baby Waddle. So this has Lamar Jackson on Rock the Hawk. We have Lamar Jackson versus Chicago. We got Myles Gaskin versus the Jets. Might be good, but Myles Gaskin is who knows. Leonard Fournette versus the Giants. Deontay Johnson versus the Chargers. Chargers have been good against the pass this year. Mike Williams versus Pittsburgh, the other side of that, and Jared Cook versus Pittsburgh. Mike Evans versus the Giants, and Buffalo versus Indianapolis. On the other side of that, we've got Ryan Tannehill versus Houston. Spot matchup here. We have Antonio Gibson versus Carolina. We have Joe Mixon versus the Raiders. And Chase versus the Raiders. We got Waddle. Jalen Waddle, that's his name. I was trying to think of his first name. Jalen Waddle versus the Jets, and Mike Gesicki versus the Jets. He's stacks here going on. The Bengals and the Miami Dolphins stacks here, and then Devontae Adams in the flex spot against Minnesota. I think I'm gonna have to go with Waddle, baby. Even though he's doing the spot start at the quarterback position, I just think his matchups are better. I don't really like one of Rock the Hawk's running backs. I don't like Mike Williams. I don't like Jared Cook. Yeah, I just like the look of Waddle Babies a little bit better.
Yeah, I am unfortunately going to have to agree with you here. I think the depth of Waddle Baby is just going to be too much for Rock the Hawk to overcome.
Yeah. All right. I'm basically guaranteeing my win by picking me and then picking the rest of this matchups.
Well, it just makes your matchup worth so much more, right?
Yes, of course. On to matchup number 4. We got Chubba Hubba Dubba Bubba versus Ferris Bueller. You're my hero. So Ferris Bueller, you're my hero as Pat Mahomes versus Dallas, like you said, potentially a shootout. Najee Harris versus the Chargers. Now the Chargers, while they have a good pass defense, they have a terrible rush defense. So I think Najee Harris is going to have a decent game. AJ Dillon versus Minnesota will be good. Tyler Lockett versus Cardinals. His wide receivers are not good. Marvin Jones versus San Francisco, and Chris Godwin versus the Giants. He'll probably be good. Hunter Henry versus Atlanta, currently playing, and Young Hoi Koo versus New England, currently playing, and Dallas versus the Kansas City offense. I'm not sure that's going to go so hot. On the other side of that, we got Josh Allen versus the Colts. Christian McCaffrey versus Washington. That'll be a smash matchup. Nick Chubb versus Detroit. That'll be a smash match. If he's Nick Chubb may not be playing because he still has not been activated from the COVID-19 list. He's not been activated yet, so he may not play. But he also has Dearness Johnson as backup, so Dearness Johnson will smash the Lions if Nick Chubb is not in. We have Emmanuel Sanders versus the Colts. We got Darnell Mooney right off the waiver wire straight into the starting lineup against Baltimore. Dan Arnold versus San Francisco, and Hunter Renfrow versus Cincinnati. What are you thinking for this matchup?
This is a tough one. I think I'm leaning towards Chubba Hubba Dubba Bubba based on the running back strength. I know CMC's back, and I think he's at full force. And I actually think CMC with Cam. That actually makes CMC a little deadlier, but also less likely to get to score those rushing touchdowns when they're close to the goal line. But I think his yardage will make up for it, like you said with Nick Chubb. I think Nick Chubb / Jonas Johnson, whoever plays. I think the running backs are going to be. But then again, Ferris Bueller's running backs are pretty good too. AJ Dillon, who we talked about earlier, I think he's going to be a top 10 play for sure until Aaron Jones comes back. And Najee Harris, who I think is top 5 or top 4 this year.
The top 3 players, the quarterbacks and the 2 running backs for both teams are going to be fantastic this week because the Colts have a terrible pass defense, like we were saying.
Yep.
And they both have not great wide receivers and then average tight ends. It's going to be interesting. It's going to come down to those top 3 players on each team, I think.
Yeah, so I think I might cheat a little bit because, the Thursday night game is playing right now. I see that Hunter Henry has 0 points so far, and Younghoe Koo has 0 points so far. Granted, less than half of a quarter has been played. But I'm going to pick Chubba Hubba Dubba Bubba.
I, too, am going to pick Chubba Hubba Dubba Bubba because I agree with you. I think I think that the running backs are a little bit stronger and the wide receivers are also a little bit stronger, but then also the defense, Tennessee versus Houston, I think is going to be a great defensive move there. And Dallas
versus
Kansas
better Dallas versus KC.
Yeah, so I think he'll make up quite a few points there and kind of have the advantage. So, however, Hunter Henry's about to probably get a touchdown here. So
right now.
That's just how he does. But let's finish this before the points can cloud our judgment. We got Deshaun's happy endings versus my tight end Erwin Eifert, the last matchup of the week. We've got Deshaun's happy endings with Joe Burrow versus the Raiders, Saquon Barkley versus Tampa Bay. We got DeAndre Swift versus Cleveland, CeeDee Lamb versus Kansas City, Devonta Smith versus New Orleans, Kyle Pitts with 0 points currently versus New England tonight. Devin Singletary with against the Colts and New England's defense against Atlanta. We got Jalen Hurts on the other side against New Orleans, Zach Moss against the Colts, Naeem Hines against Buffalo. DK Metcalf. He currently doesn't have a defense or a kicker in.
But he did. I did see he has Carolina's defense and Randy Bullock from the Titans on his bench right now. So I don't think we'll need to worry about that.
Yeah, he does have DK Metcalf and Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and Marquise Brown. See, those 4 players can make up for a lot of bad players at the running back spot.
Yeah.
But I just don't. I don't know. I think Kyle Pitts. I think before coming in or before we see this score now halfway through the first quarter, but I thought that New England was just going to shut down Kyle Pitts anyways this week, so I figured he was going to have a bad week. I don't know. I might almost be leaning my tight end Erwin Eifert once he gets those 2 players in. I know his running backs are terrible, but I think his wide receivers will make up for it.
Yeah, I am going to have to agree with you on this one. Once he gets those 2 in, it's just the depth of Aaron's team is a little bit, like you said, at the wide receiver position, a little bit more than I think just on a happy ending will be able to take care of this week.
I agree. All right, so we have on to my second favorite segment of every week. Are you ready for this drop?
I'm ready.
Mail time. Yes. I love that drop. All right. Now we have 2 great questions from Benaya this week. We have question number 1. We have, how might one even begin to calculate the odds of 7 teams tying for first place? Have you figured this out, Neil, yet?
I know people. I'm not going again, but I'm going to power through it. So I did take. I'm a math minor. Contrary to popular belief, teachers can do math sometimes. I'm not even sure how to begin calculating it. 7 teams. We're what, 11 weeks through the season or 10 weeks through the
10
season?
weeks. Yep.
10 weeks through the season. I don't know. What do you think, engineer?
Yeah, I mean, I took one stats course in my entire life, I believe. That's more of a business thing than an engineering thing. But yeah, I mean, the fact that we do have 7 teams and tied for first place at 6-4 is just insane. Like the amount
Yeah,
of,
this late in the season, dare I say, it's never happened before. I think.
at least not in our league for sure. So yeah, I don't know. It's just a very competitive. Like, there's a lot of teams that can do well any given week, which I think is going to make the playoffs interesting. Like, there's
Yeah.
no clear number one team. We've got at least 4 or 5 teams, much less 7 teams that could potentially make their way all the way, through through the playoffs. So, or even 8 or 9. Like, we still have 9 teams in the race right now, and 8 of them have a higher chance than others. Um,
That's fair.
but yeah, I think any of those teams can put up a great couple of weeks, depending on matchups and the way that injuries have happened, and the way that there have been couple of weird weeks this year where just like nobody's scoring anything, and like the bad players played well and the good players played bad. Like, I think it literally could be anybody's game going. It's all going to be luck down the
Yep.
stretch.
Yeah, that's just what I'm gonna say. Every year, we all know that luck is a vital part to fantasy success, but I can't recall a year, and at least in recent memory, where luck has played as big of a part as it has, and I think it will down the stretch with so many teams vying for those playoff spots.
I agree. I agree. It's definitely going to be fun to watch as we keep going here. So then the second question that Benaya sent in, and I don't know how we're going to do this question, but how would you characterize the Magnificent Seven teams in the Gooshbagz Fantasy Football League? You can use any culture analogies that you'd like.
Well, one thing when I saw this question that immediately came to my mind is I started thinking about Michigan's Fab Five from back in the day. But I
Yeah,
think that comparing the Fab Five to this Magnificent Seven is a disservice to the Magnificent Seven.
I
I think
agree.
this Magnificent Seven is way better than anything either of us have ever experienced in the history of mankind or even this world itself. What do you think?
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I agree. I mean, this has been great. I've been loving every second of this season, except for when, obviously my team was given the loss last week. But anyways, um, it's definitely been an interesting ride here over the last few weeks, watching all the teams like bounce up and down. Like, who's been? I mean, obviously, like, Ryo came out to a fast start. He was like undefeated for a few weeks, I think, at the beginning there, and then he's lost a few in a row. So I think it's been fun to see everything like bounce around. I have an exercise for us. So he said use any culture analogies that you like. How would you so we're given the 7 dwarves from Snow White and the 7 dwarves. So, and we have 7 teams in first place. How would you characterize the 7 teams and the like, which team is which dwarf?
Oh,
So
I
we
have
have
to look at teams.
the dwarfs. I have the dwarfs up here. We have Doc, Grumpy, Happy, Sleepy, Bashful, Sneezy, and Dopey. So
Hmm.
the 7 teams: Adam, me, Benaya, James. James is Sleepy.
I'll agree with you on that one.
Um, we have and then Ryo, Chad, and Andrew Quartz. I would say,
We have to give one to Chad, right?
yeah, Chad. I would call Chad grumpy? Is Chad grumpy? Are we just doing the people, or are we doing
That's I mean, it's a lot of work to look at all the teams at this moment. I would
All right.
rather just do it based on the team owners.
All right, so then Adam is happy.
For sure.
Let's say. Um, let's see, bashful, sneezy. Would you give me the doc role since I'm the commissioner?
Sure, I think you put a lot of work in, so yeah, we can give you the doc.
All right, so what do we have left? We have bashful, sneezy, and dopey for Benaya, Ryo, and Andrew Courts.
Bashful.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh,
Bashful.
it's probably. I would give bashful to. I don't know. See, the problem is none of these three really fit with the last three. Three wars.
Just knowing Ryo, I'm going to give him the bashful role based on how bashful he was to talk to any girls in high school. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that for now.
Also, he hasn't wanted to. He's been shying away from any sort of trade talks with me ever. So I'll give him the bashful role. And Sneezy and Dopey, I'll give. I know Benaya is allergic to cats, like kind of bad. So I'll give him Sneezy. And Andrew Quartz is Dopey because he's a dope sometimes. He's a dope. He's not mute, but he is, dopey.
I think I'll go with that.
Sure. That was just the first analogy that I could come up with that had seven things in it. I don't know if that's what you meant by how do you characterize the Magnificent Seven teams in the Gooshbagz Fantasy Football League, but that's how we answered it. So that's what we're going to go with. Well, we stumbled our way through it. How are you feeling, Neil?
I'm feeling pretty good. I don't think I've said this in the group chat, but I'm actually taking a business trip out to Arizona for this weekend. Got a tournament. So I'm going tomorrow afternoon and coming home late Sunday night. So Monday's going to be a great day.
Tournament's business?
Oh, yeah. It's a business trip, baby.
That's
Trying
awesome.
to earn that cash,
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking. Oh, yeah, that's what you need.
Oh, there it is.
The money. That one's a loud drop. But yes, no, that'll be great. That's exciting. Hopefully, yeah, you bring home the dough. How is this? This will be the farthest you've gone for a pickleball tournament, or no?
I think last year I flew to Florida. That's probably the farthest. I almost played one in Virginia, but the tournament director was kind of loosey-goosey on the numbers, so I didn't jump at that one. But this is definitely one of my farthest. I know a lot of times I stick around the Midwest where I can drive, but I feel like I could make some money at this tournament, so I'm going to give it a shot. Hopefully it goes well.
Will you come out of ahead after plane tickets and potentially lodging?
So I have my friend's parents member. No, my friend's my friend who I'm playing with, his name is Ryan. His family is really good friends with the family down there, so I'm staying there. So that's awesome. So basically, I pretty much only have to pay for the airfare of the tournament. If I medal in both events, I will come out ahead. So I'm hoping for that.
How close is Ryan? Because I know Ryan. I've met him a couple times, I believe. If you're talking about the same Ryan, maybe tennis. Didn't he play tennis in Rockford? Yeah.
This Ryan is out of the Quad Cities.
Oh, different Ryan then.
Yes.
Because I was gonna say Ryan lives in like Utah, I think, right?
Ryan who?
Ryan Fertitta.
Oh yeah, Ryan Fertitta. Yeah, he does live in Utah. I'm trying to get him to play more pickleball, but I think he just likes to ski more.
Yeah, that seems to be what he's doing. But yeah, so yeah, hopefully you come out ahead, make some dough, come back here and celebrate. Maybe I don't know.
We'll see. I got 2 days of school before Thanksgiving break.
That's
So
true.
I
Yeah,
have
you
to,
gotta come back.
I'll have to live. I'll have to
Hey.
live through those 2 days first.
There you go. There you go. Hopefully they won't be too bad. Usually the couple of days on the Thanksgiving week are pretty chill. So
Yeah. I'm thinking movie day. I actually almost ended up taking a red eye Sunday night, and I would
oof.
have gone straight from the airport to school.
Oh
Uh, I
man.
I ended up not doing that, but
That would have been
that was an option at one point. That definitely would have been like a movie day or something.
yeah, for sure. But well, good luck with that, and thank you so much for joining me. It's always awesome to have you on. You always have fantastic inputs, and I always love discussing these with you. So once again, thank you so much. Hopefully, I mean, the next time I would see you on this would be if I meet you in the playoffs. So hopefully you make the playoffs, and I can meet you there, beat you in the playoffs, and then have
Hey,
you on
if I make it to the playoffs, I'll be very happy with my season.
Yeah, well,
Especially at a 3% chance.
yeah. Hey, there's still a chance. Still a chance.
So you're saying there's a chance.
Darn right. Once again, thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it. The rest of you guys have a fantastic week, and I'm looking forward to catching you guys next week.
See ya.
All right, see you guys.